Welcome to Timeless Conversations, a channel where we talk about life and adulting,
the ups, the downs,
and everything in between.
My name is Sharon.
My name is Robinah.
And my name is Aisha. In today's episode, we talk about gender-based violence. Now, if you haven't noticed, all of us are wearing orange.
Yes.
Could be different shades, but we're wearing orange because we want to stand for what exactly gender-based violence has been. According to the UN, orange was chosen as a color that reflects hope, but also one that reflects the future that we hope for that is free of violence.
Yeah.
Now, clearly, this has been an issue in society, and it's not only confined to Uganda, but also worldwide. There is a staggering statistic on gender-based violence, and because we want to be factual, I want to read out to you so you would understand how serious GBV is. Now, according to statistics from the UN Women, globally, an estimated 736 million women, almost 1 in 3, have been subjected to physical and sexual intimate partner violence, non-partner sexual violence, or both at least once in their life. 30% of women aged 15 and older. Now, this figure does not include sexual harassment. But also to contextualize in the Ugandan setting, according to statistics from Uganda Bureau of Statistics in 2021, it said that gender-based violence is an everyday threat for Ugandan women and girls. National demographic data from 2020 revealed that 56% of married women aged 15 and to 49 reported suffering physical and or sexual violence by a husband. So, ladies, as much as we want to throw light on gender-based violence, I would really want to know if you have gotten up close and personal with GBV as a societal issue that needs to be addressed, especially now that we are commemorating the International GBV Awareness Week, which starts from November 25th and ends on December 10th. Sharon.
Well, personally, in my area of work, I work in the humanitarian sector, and we work with persons of concern. That's what we call them. But just to help, for context, for those who may not be familiar with the term, the refugees. We work with refugees, and you hear stories of as they were trying to flee the war and trying to come and seek refuge, and you're running away from something you feel is bad, but along the way
you get worse.
Exactly. You experience something even probably much worse, I would say. So, like in my line of work, those are stories we have had happen. And I mean, it's not surprising because those are situations whereby maybe some of the people have run away without their husbands that we made. Maybe you find some young children as young as 12, 13, 14, 15 young kids who have, run away from the wars, and they don't know where their parents are because as you're running, it's really chaotic. So, yeah, from my work, I've heard of those stories. And of course, the things you see on the news. Yeah.
So I'm also in the humanitarian sector, and it's one of the aspects that is usually integrated in most of our programming as in the work that we do generally. Even if you're in the health sector, somehow you integrate gender-based violence.
Definitely.
Because it's one of the aspects that really cuts across. Like there are very many cases that relate to the work that we do. For example, I used to work for an organization that distributed food, and there used to be a protection desk that deals with such issues of gender-based violence, because sometimes a family head goes to pick the food, but then goes back home or goes and sells it, and then it brings conflict at home, and someone gets battered. So there used to be a desk that deals with such issues. So it's something that we can't completely separate from our everyday life. It just it's caused by so many things that just is part of life. Yeah. So that's my experience as well around that.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing. I realize that every time we talk about gender-based violence, it's the borderline is on abuse or physical. We think about bruises, we talk about blood, spraying, broken bones, but I think GBV goes beyond that.
Yeah.
It does.
It involves financial abuse, emotional abuse, because of the power dynamics that most of the time are at play. So my question would be then, are these patterns that can be clearly placed at to so that the victims and survivors of gender-based violence can look out for, and is there a way to tell what causes gender-based violence?
I feel like there's, like I have been saying, that it cuts across just everyday life, but there are people that are victims of gender-based violence that they don't know that they are. I don't know if you get the point.
I do.
Of they are, like, it has been a part of them for the longest time, so they think that this is the norm. So I think that how you know that you're violated is when the physical one is evident of you're beaten, you are like you fight, you get bruises, you get broken bones. Some people even lose their lives. The physical one is obvious, but the financial one is when they withhold financial support to you. For example, if you're a mother and you have children, but the father of the children is not providing as they should, because they want you to be vulnerable. So they withhold the finances from you. Yes, so that you're vulnerable and you can do anything that they want because you want the money, you want the support. So that's one of the form that it presents itself. Yeah.
I've been thinking, and when you talked about how it's not just physical, but it's emotional, the financial, I was reminded of a story a friend shared. Oh, by the way, I know there's this belief that, because when Robin and I shared, we talked about our work experience in the humanitarian sector, but it's actually as real as people like you and I, Robinah, and you guys, like anybody, like really anybody. Sometimes we think it is so far away from us, and yet it's actually very close to home.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we don't even realize it, probably because the people that are going through it don't want to share. So I think every time someone makes you feel like you're less than, it should be something that, like is a trigger, especially in instances whereby it's not issues of like war, like we're talking about now, but like you live a normal life, like someone outside looks at you like, hey, that's a good family. But when it's only you who knows what's happening when, you go back home, So I think how to even realize that it could happen is if someone, first of all, I think anyone who can abuse you emotionally and put you down. And I have a friend who shared a story of a friend of hers who, like, before she got married, I was this jolly person, like, oh, I was looking good. And then when she got married, like,
She became a
She changed.
actually remember seeing another picture on WhatsApp whereby someone was saying, like, the picture of the person on their wedding day, and then like 10 years later you're married, and you're like, is this the same person? So anyway, so this person, my friend's friend, so apparently she was in this marriage, and like she was working and she was making her own money, yeah, but all the money she would get, like, buy the guy nice things. So the guy was always looking nice, looking polished and everything. Well, for her, like her shoes were even like maybe wearing out. Like she was not taking care of herself. So every time, and like she was always telling her how maybe like she's so dumb, so stupid, and yet her friends clearly know this was a very brilliant girl. So anyone who tries to, first of all, belittle you, especially on things that you're sure of, you're like, by the way, I went to school and I passed my exams, I'm not dumb. So someone who makes you feel less than who you feel you are really is a sign to show that, yeah, there could be some violence coming up in here.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that most of the people that are abused rarely get to know when it starts.
Exactly.
Because it is that line is almost blurry. You don't know if this is how the other person expresses their love, because we have been taught as African women, there are these anecdotal stories of how women before us withstood that kind of treatment.
Kuguma.
Yeah, the Kuguma stories
God.
are very rampant, and sadly, it's passed on generation to generation. So when you see these patterns, it's a thing of you thinking, it shall pass. Maybe every relationship has that cycle, that season of not understanding each other, which could, in almost a snap, change into physical abuse.
Yes.
And I've realized that most of the time the abuser is not held accountable, because they have enablers. They have people that are willing to back them up and victimize the one that is being abused. Yes. So
Society.
Yeah.
Sometimes even police, like that protection unit. Sometimes even the people around us are like, you have a good thing going on.
yeah.
Why do you want to leave? So the
Especially when you
surroundings.
have like everything catered
Going-
for, like,
yeah.
Yes,
how do
when
I
you-
walk out of all this?
Also, you think.
Absolutely.
Because for me, I feel like when someone is abusing you mentally, it takes away so much, like it sucks so much life out of you that you lose the actual thread of who you are. You get, so I feel like if you feel violated and the surroundings just enabling you, like you're thinking about their family, you're thinking society, what will society say? Society will always say things, whether you leave or you stay. But when you're killed, your children will remain alone. So I feel like you need to make a decision that favors you, that favors your children, that favors the well-being of the people around you that you love. So just don't think about what anyone will say, because it's your life. You get, so pay attention to how you feel, pay attention to how the other person treats you, and then act accordingly. Because honestly, for me, I feel like even the emotional abuse is much worse than the physical one.
Yeah.
Because you can become someone else. You can even become a monster, because now you've built up so much trauma from your surrounding, and now that's how you are presenting yourself to everyone around you. For example, your children, you start shouting at them, you start transferring this violence to the people that are vulnerable around you. So we need to really be aware and act accordingly. Yeah.
I like that you say that, because in all family setups where there is domestic violence, the children are actually most affected, because they get to see this so up close. They get to see their mother battered, disrespected. They get to see the ugly side that is not actually projected to society. So I think in all this, in as much as you want to stay in a marriage, in as much as you want to, protect what you have worked for, think about your children, think about the people that you actually care about. Recently, I was on Twitter, and there was this South African philanthropist that died because of gender-based violence.
What?
And to me, the thing that came to me was how much society had let her down, because I think in some of her posts she had actually tried to scream out and tell the world that, you know, I'm actually going through this, but I think it was not that vivid. People could have not seen it as clearly as she meant it, and sadly she died and left young children, which to me does not make sense, because if you want to keep a marriage because you want a two-partner household for your children at the expense of your children's future and their emotional well-being, for me it doesn't make sense. So I think that do not be selfish, and silence is the only fuel for gender-based violence. Because every time you're keeping quiet, every time you're closing doors and maintaining the family status and everything, there is so much that you're losing, that you're putting on the line.
Yeah, so you know, it's said that in Uganda, it's such a common belief that, you know, like issues of gender-based violence are more a private issue, matter, and not like criminal, like a public or criminal issue. Yeah, so I think,
which is absurd.
Yeah, I think that when you are being beaten and you're screaming your lungs out and everybody's going about their business, well, I know the notion of mind your business, but what if that person dies? How will you live with yourself? You get? Because I remember as I was growing up, there was a lady, you know, these people who sell things on stalls, the groceries, the little things of tomatoes and all the like. So I remember this lady was busy selling her things, you know, in the local market, and the man came drunk and started beating her up. Can you imagine? Everyone just looked at them. Wow. This is a domestic issue, let them deal with themselves. It was like, thinking about it now, it was so sad that nobody did anything about it. And if the issue escalated, like had escalated at home, we don't know, because we didn't follow up. Like if the issue had escalated at home, this man would have killed this lady. And just because you don't understand what's going on in the family doesn't mean you shouldn't step in and help them settle their differences. In my opinion, I feel like as a society, we need to be alert, and we need to be more willing to step in and help the situation, even if it's for the moment. It probably will save that person's life. Maybe the perpetrator will go back and think and not do it again because he has been publicly humiliated. Okay, so I think that we need to not sit back and watch people be violated, but step in and do something about it, especially if it's something that has happened close to you and you can do something about it.
I agree with you totally, because I've also realized that even in our space, in our midst, there are friends that are actually going through it, but because we are also kind of scared to ask, because somehow it seems like you're being intrusive into someone's personal life. But I've learned that maybe this person hasn't gotten enough courage to speak about the things that they're actually going through. So they are only waiting for that one moment where you ask,
actually ask,
and genuinely meanwhile, because it is important that you come off as supportive, like you genuinely want to help, not wanting to be nosy,
get info.
Absolutely. So they are waiting for that one time that you ask, so they have the permission to tell you what they are going through. Because honestly, when you're going through these things, yes, it could be that you're brave enough to speak about it, but then there are those ones that are not, because it is, first of all, it is something that is not, or will not give you respect to talk about. Like it takes away a certain bit of dignity, knowing that the person who is supposed to protect you, to love you, is the one that actually doing the abusing. So it's important that while you seek out to wait for this person to speak, try to see if you can ask, and ask in a respectful way.
Or just be willing to listen.
Exactly.
Just create an environment where they're comfortable enough without even asking for them to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, it won't be easy for someone to share if they don't feel like it's a safe space for them to share. And even the way you ask, like if it's a group of people and you notice something, I think you'd rather wait until it's like
It's
a
a
private
lonely moment,
yes. Like if you ask me then I'll definitely make up something. Like I can't tell you the truth in that space. But if you come to me privately and ask me, then I may be more, willing to actually share and tell you what exactly the issue is, as opposed to if like we meet and like, Robinah, what's up? Like, that
You
kind
don't
of
look like
thing,
you're
yeah?
yourself.
Yes.
What's going on?
Yes. Yes. So that it comes off not as someone who actually is asking from a place of, I'm asking because I genuinely care, but it comes off from a thing of, like, what's up with you? Like,
I know.
you get it? Yeah. So.
Yeah, I like that so much, because these friends of ours, it's either I will be genuine and tell you the honest truth, or I'll keep quiet. And the more you keep quiet, you're giving the other person more power to do more harm. But I've also learned that when it comes to GBV, you have to be very, very, very careful the questions that you ask. Do not go to a survivor or a victim of domestic violence and ask them, how do you let that happen? Why did you wait for how did you wait for him to get to that level?
Like, did you see this
Did you see it coming?
Did you see the signs?
Exactly.
The victimizer.
Yes. So you'd rather go there to help than to question and probe and judge. And I think that brings us to who we are as a culture, like us as Africans. Most of the time, when you speak about the things that you're talking about of GBV and the violence that is being done on you, the society has a way it protects the perpetrator somehow, because you see, this is not something that is done by one person. It comes with enablers, family, friends, and the community. Because you will go and say, the man beats me, and then the first thing they will ask, what did you do? You get it.
It's more like the same.
Like you triggered it. Yes.
Like, why
did
I never understand that.
What did you do? You're not cooking for him food enough. You're not giving him conjugal rights. You're not. It's not about me. I am like, I'm the one who's been violated. Why are you asking me what I didn't do? And you're not paying attention to what they did. For me, that honestly, I just don't understand why society thinks that it's about what I didn't do and not what he has done to me.
Exactly.
I don't understand it.
So when Robinah talked about the conjugal rights thing, it reminded me of, now I talked about the people like us, like even going to school, but there are also people probably who haven't gone to school, whereby because of poverty and really not knowing better, when it's issues of family planning, like people who are into like programming for family planning know this, whereby the man beats up the wife because maybe he went and got contraceptives, and like, why are you doing, like,
without his knowledge?
Oh wow.
And yet you find these other families whereby the kids are already too many.
Yes, and
they can't even sustain, they can't provide for the family. So maybe the woman, from trying to engage with the people who provide support, has gotten to learn that, okay, maybe one of the things you can do is try and stop having kids. But the man doesn't want to hear
that gets you beaten.
And that gets her beaten.
Wow. It's very unfortunate for African women, really, because I've also just learned recently that a very critical number of women actually don't know that marital rape exists and it's a crime, and you can actually report your husband.
Really?
Yes. And you know what is
how will you
what
prove?
Is saddening? That is the whole point, that
Yeah.
GBV
It's
cases,
your word against
yes,
Yeah.
the system, the judicial system is also not doing enough to protect women against GBV. You do realize that the marriage bill, I think it's
Marriage and divorce bill.
it got at a certain point, it was halted because of
Yes.
these, some of the things that they were highlighting,
we're going to encourage
GBV. So for me, it's a thing of, I would say, there is a lot of information that needs to go out there, not just to those that we think have not gotten to school, but even us who have been very privileged to learn. There is so much that we need to learn about GBV and how it manifests in society, how it affects us as a society. Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're having this conversation, so that you guys can know about gender-based violence. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, there's a whole wealth of knowledge around gender-based violence, but we are just conversation starters.
Yeah.
So that you can carry on the conversation from where we have stopped.
Yeah.
But for me, one thing to note is we live in a patriarchal society. And I think that's the reason why some people never get to report or speak up, because we're in a patriarchal society that that glorifies, I don't know how to best say this without being misunderstood, but the man as the head of the home, right? So most women give in to their wants and neglect what they desire, what they want.
And
So-
they're right.
They're right.
I mean, if they, sorry.
No, I would want to understand what you meant.
They neglect their rights. Like, some
Oh,
of them are
right.
legal
Okay,
rights.
yes, I get you. I thought you said like they are right to neglect.
No.
Yes. So it's just how society has been programmed. I mean, leadership and family hierarchy is important, but when it gets to violence or when it gets to abuse in any form or shape, I feel like that hierarchy needs to be checked. Like, if you're violating me, if you're forcing me to do things, like you said, marital rape, I should be able to speak up and I should be able to be heard. So for me, that's how I look at it. Yeah.
If really, like, you feel you're not safe in the marriage, and I know I've said this before, there are avenues, like, to talk about these things. There are avenues to, like, step away for the safety of yourself and for your children. And I know most times there's the misconception, like you said, whereby, you want to stay in the marriage for the kids and all that. But much as you may think that the kids don't see what's happening, kids are very, very keen that even if they may not see that you were beaten, like, they can read the room. So if really you're going through that, there are avenues, like, walk away, go separate ways until you feel like maybe you can talk about it, and things, it's now a safe environment to for you to go back. I mean, engage, if you're grounded in a church, engage your church leadership, your pastors. There are so many avenues even within church where you can
Counseling.
talk about these things. Yes, go for counseling, because there's no one who has got this marriage thing figured out.
No.
Like, the whole patriarchal thing. Yes, the man is the head of the house, but it doesn't mean that he's going to come and lord it over me and treat me like I'm less than
a human being.
yes,
Really.
less than, because we were all created in the image of God. But there is a place for, and the Bible tells us that the man needs to love the wife as Christ loved the church. Christ was willing to sacrifice himself for us. So ideally,
Right.
that's what the man should be doing. Be willing to do everything that he can for the good of his wife, for the good of his family, and not, I mean, when we talk about submission, that's also a whole other thing. The misconception is that I need to, like, lose
Crawl at your
myself.
feet.
Yes, but that's not really what it is. If we're to follow the example of, Jesus, like the Bible teaches us, for me as a Christian, then it means that he is going to follow the example of Christ and be willing to sacrifice himself and not beat me up, right? No.
It reminded me of that child that had to tell her mom, was it his mom, that, you know what, mommy, I think it's better we leave. So that woman's wake-up point, after all the years of abuse that she had withstood, was when her child actually told her that, you know, mom, we better leave dad. So I'm thinking, what kind of Stockholm syndrome would you have to empathize with the one who is abusing you, for you to forget everything about your life and think that the one who is abusing you loves you more than you love yourself or anyone that loves you. You get it? Your loved ones, your children, your family, your mothers, you know? So,
like, sometimes if the perpetrator is a high-profile person, usually, or you've built so much together, maybe you've built a company. I think there's a story I watched on YouTube, and the lady had built a company from scratch, but the guy had manipulated his way and made sure that his name appeared as one of the directors. But he battered this chick, pulled her hair, and God, she doesn't even have hair like up to here. And she had dreadlocks like me, so she now wears headbands that cover like a wide area like this, because the hair has been pulled out. And she has a very brilliant daughter. So the daughter has been documenting these things all her life. Now imagine the kind of trauma that girl has. Surprisingly, she has healed much better than the mom. She talks about it, and I think the journaling helped. She has books and books of what she has been able to see. And she talks about how she feels when she's in boarding school, how she's worried about the mom. And for me, my jaws really just dropped, and I felt really sad for the girl. Surprisingly, she had really healed well, because she spoke about it with so much confidence, and she didn't even cry or any sad emotion around it. But the children are actually seeing, when you're raising broken children in such an environment, they'll grow up to think that some of these things are normal. If they are boys, they'll think that you can beat your wife how you want. All the ladies will think, if I'm being beaten, maybe they just love me. They just want me to be better. But you're raising broken people who will just carry on the culture of gender-based violence, really. So don't stay for the children, or don't think that you are enduring this because of the children, because you're breaking them the more. Yeah.
It reminded me of the culture in Uganda that talks about, if he doesn't beat you, he doesn't love you.
Oh God.
Yeah, we all know that.
Oh God.
Yeah.
It's
not
true.
It's so twisted.
I know.
Like, it's so twisted.
I think it just continues, like she said, it just continues the culture. Because how sick would you have to be to
if he
believe
beats
that?
you, he doesn't love you.
As simple as that.
As simple as that. I mean, but you know, you were talking about the Stockholm syndrome, and like, what would make a person stay after all that?
The attachment.
Not even the attachment, but they have a way that they can make you feel nice just enough to stay. They feel they love you enough, just enough to make you stay.
Or like, if they abuse you, the next day they'll show up with flowers, chocolates.
The sandwich method.
And then they will actually tell you, actually, I think I know why those people actually get stuck. Do you know, abusers will tell you that there's nothing more out there for you. If you leave me, you're finished.
Actually, I've wasted you, so who is going to take?
Oh my God.
That's when the worst.
Like,
who is going to accept someone like you?
And you will end up
I've had a
believing
statement
it.
like that before, actually.
And yet you're the one who turned that person into someone like, how bad can you be to even say that?
But it is happening. And
but you know, as you say all this, you know, gender-based violence is not just against women, guys.
Man, there's some ladies who are What's so
just against
tough?
women. What's so unfortunate though is that I think the men, because of
Still culture.
wanting culture, wanting to stay
Macho.
Sorry, we're laughing, but it's the sad reality. Like, because of wanting to keep up appearances, like, how can I, as a man, go to police?
And
Actually,
say,
even police, I think even sometimes police laughs and say, "Your wife beat you."
Yeah,
What
it seems
kind
unbelievable.
of man are you? But the truth is, the men out there who are actually experiencing this, and I would say the advice that we have shared, the opinions we have shared regarding, the violence against women still applies. Speak up. Yeah? Like, don't stay quiet, regardless of what society says or thinks about you. Speak up. And don't let the cycle continue, because I think this is what led to what's happening now to the women to become endemic and be something that is literally impossible to end, because those who experienced it first never spoke up. So now it just became a cycle that went on. So speak up. Let it not be a cycle for the men as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a month that is the men's mental health month. I don't know if it's October or September, but it's a recent month. And for me, being a boy mom, I really, really encourage boys or men to speak up, like in case you're going through something, be able to express yourself without feeling a certain type of way. Because what is worse, being in a worse mental state or speaking up and getting help? What is worse, the shame or being in a worse mental state or being in a bad physical relationship? Like, you have to choose the better option and disregard any other noise.
Yeah, so men, we don't want to confine the conversation to our gender only, because clearly statistics have proven that yes, women are battered, but maybe it's simply because they're the ones that actually have spoken up and that they are being recorded and followed up. So we encourage the men out there that, before you are a man, you're a human.
Yes.
And just like we all express our emotions, you are entitled to do the same. So just seek out all the help that you need. And I promise you, no one is going to judge you.
Even if they do, does it matter?
They most likely
A
will.
judgment is definitely not better than a lost life, right?
Yes.
You're better off speaking and preserving your life and those that love you.
Yeah, I also wanted to say that there are GBV shelters. At least one that I am familiar with is one done by Action Aid. So in case you don't know where to run to, in case you are violated, in case you are battered, please run to a GBV shelter. Just look up Action Aid. I think they do one. I don't know if you guys know any, but those GBV shelters have a holistic approach to helping you overcome that situation. They can help you, shelter you and your children for the meantime as you find your footing back out there. They can also help you with the legal steps on how to move forward, considering the abuse and stuff like that. So don't be silent. That's a good place to run to, a safe place to run to. Yeah.
Then I would also encourage really those in places of influence, the police, the local councils, LCs, chairman, like anyone in a place of influence. Let's try and take this more seriously. Health workers, I feel like health workers are usually like the first line of support. That's why in programming it's GBV is incorporated in there. Health workers, like when you actually encounter someone who is showing signs of GBV, offer the support, like be willing to listen to them without judging them, and seek ways of actually seeing, if possible, how to, link these people to the right people that can offer them like support, like encourage them, because sometimes some people just need to be, encouraged to be able to take the steps that they need to take to be in a better place.
Yeah, thank you. I also think that in as much as you're trying to protect your family, please remember that you're not alone, and you are part of a very big statistic of survivors. And trust me, you are heard, you are represented, and that you will forever have the support of everyone who believes that this country and the whole globe is in support of a violence-free future.
Yes.
I mean, we've dedicated 16 days, guys,
Every
every year to just speak about this, to make as much noise as we can, so that everybody knows what GBV is and where to find help. So we're not alone. We know that these things are happening in society. So please speak up, seek help, so that we can end this endemic.
We hope that you learned something as we were having these very, very critical conversations. We hope that, if you are there and you're suffering abuse and you're looking for the next step, you take this advice, you go and report, go seek a medical report, go have this criminal record taken, so that we end GBV in Uganda and the entire world. Please don't be a part of the statistics that could easily turn into death. But also, if you haven't subscribed, please do us the honors and subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe as well, because we not only bring you informative topics, but it's all fun and love here. We love having you, and so we want to keep you with us, because we are growing. This channel is growing, and you don't want to miss out on everything that we bring you. Thank you so much, HD Media, for producing and shooting this wonderful episode. Please click on that notification bell, so you'll be a part of those ones that watch first whenever we upload.
This side.
Until next time,
Bye.